Dave, of course, once these results confirmed around about an hour ago, a lot of reaction coming in from EU leaders. It was seen as a vital election, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this election was being so closely watched this weekend in Brussels. It's all people were talking about, and people were very nervous about it, I'll tell you. So there was a huge sigh of relief when this pro-EU majority came through higher than expected, with the pro-EU party being able to govern on its own, it appears. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen just put out a statement saying, "Moldova, you've done it again. No attempt to sow fear or division could break your resolve." But this was not an election that went completely smoothly. You heard reference there in that sound clip, the allusion to bomb threats that were called into polling stations. That even happened here in Brussels at the Moldovan embassy yesterday. It had to be evacuated after there was a bomb threat. Analysts had said they expected such bomb threats, particularly at foreign polling stations, because Moldovans abroad would tend to vote for the pro-EU bloc. Moldova is a complicated country. There are voters that are also in next door Romania and also in the self-governing pro-Russian territory of Transnistria. There was some criticism about how the Moldovan government and judiciary blocked certain political parties that were pro-Russian, blocked allegedly some people's access to the polls coming from Transnistria. However, that hasn't dampened the enthusiasm felt here. One Romanian MEP from Emmanuel Macron's Renew Europe group, who is there in Moldova observing the election, really struck home the European implications of this, saying, quote, this is Dan Barna, the MEP, saying, "Citizens defeated a furious attack, not with weapons, but with democracy, showing all of Europe the true power of the European dream." Because, of course, there was a lot of allegations of Russian meddling. Now, privately, I've heard a lot of people say this morning that Moldova did the right thing here by intervening before the election to try to head off some of those manipulation and blocking attempts by Russia, as opposed to Romania and Georgia in their recent elections. Basically, they said this shows that you have to be strong ahead of time in an election in countering Russian disinformation and Russian attempts to disrupt an election. And they say this as an example of Moldova successfully doing that.
Dave, where then does this leave Moldova's potential path to EU integration?
Well, it's interesting because in her statement, Ursula von der Leyen also said, "You made your choice clear, the door is open." But how open is it? Because actually Moldova's EU accession bid has been stalled, not because Moldova isn't making good progress. It's because its accession bid is tied to Ukraine's accession bid. They have to move forward together, and Ukraine's accession bid is obviously a lot more complicated for many reasons, one of which is that Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is blocking it. So that means Moldova's also can't move forward. So I think this is going to renew some talk about whether Moldova's accession bid should be separated from Ukraine's. It is a very different situation. Moldova's future in the European Union has been seen as an inevitability for many years, either through the country unifying with Romania, with which it shares a language, or as its own as a member state. Right now it's on the path to do so as its own member state, but of course there are other options available to it. Of course, it's Ukraine's worst nightmare to have those accessions bids separated because it would look like the EU is giving up on Ukraine's accession bid, at least for now. So Ukraine will continue lobbying for the two accession bids to go together. Publicly, Moldova says it's committed to being tied to Ukraine in this process. Privately, they're a little worried that they're going to be held back because of this tying of the two accession bids together. So we'll see what happens in the next weeks if people point to this election result to say, let's separate these. While we assure Ukraine that they are going to move forward, we need to move forward with Moldova, and the only way to do that is to separate it from the Ukraine accession bid. I should say European Council President Antonio Costa is looking at other ways to overcome that Hungarian veto, possibly moving to majority voting for moving ahead on some of these chapters instead of the traditional unanimity voting that's been needed in the past.
Dave, thanks very much. Dave Keating, our correspondent, joining us live there from Brussels.